I'm sat now with Rees, and he's the Chief Executive of Alzheimer's Australia. Glenn, thank you for joining us on ADI 2012 TV.
My pleasure.
Glenn, tell me, why are you here? What are you here to say?
I'm really here to deliver a message that we need to have a revolution in the way we think about dementia care, and to transmit that to government and other agencies, so that we move away from an easy acceptance of stigma in dementia, of dementia being a part of natural aging, to treating it as a disease that we can really beat. And part of that is actually persuading health departments around the world to plan ahead for dementia and to take it seriously.
So how do you fuel that revolution? What are you encouraging people to do?
Really encouraging them to do two things. The first is to actually think about dementia within a public health framework, that we need greater awareness, we need early diagnosis, we need safer hospitals, we want dementia risk reduction, and we want a much greater investment in dementia research to reduce the future numbers of people with dementia. That's what we have to do, and I think the exciting thing is that we now know what we have to do. 10 years ago, I don't think we were so confident. But knowing what you have to do is only part of the equation. The other part of the equation is actually to communicate that to many millions of people who've never thought about dementia. And the real revolution, I think, for Alzheimer's associations around the world is to learn how to use social media and media more generally to actually reach all those people who need to understand that dementia is something we can really beat.
And who is your call to action intended for? Are you speaking to individuals or associations? Who's your target?
My real target is that Alzheimer's organisations around the world have to be more assertive, a stronger attitude to their advocacy. They have to do it with more purpose, more professionalism and more focus. That's the real message, because I believe that we know what it is we need to do. We know the policy, we know what works, we know all the figures, we've got all the statistics. We actually have to persuade people now to take dementia seriously. And that will require a revolution in our moving away from almost apologising from our issue to actually saying, hey, come on, let's beat it.
Okay, so for people going home after this conference, what can they do from day one?
Sorry, I better start that again. I think you start with documenting what it is you want. You have your dementia plan, you set out what you want and at what cost. You do that. Then I think you go to professional agencies and you see if you can get pro bono assistance, because most of our organisations, including Australia, cannot afford the luxury of employing and advertising. We have to do what we can on very limited budgets. So you work with agencies who are prepared to help you. And then you plan that in a strategic way. You door knock politicians. You have events like we had in Australia, a march on Parliament House, where we got an audience of 7.6 million people to cover the march. And the march cost us very little. But the advertising media equivalent of that was over 500,000. So I think by using events, by using publications, by being smart, you can achieve an awful lot with very limited amounts of funds, but you have to plan that very carefully.
Lots there about the amazing work you're doing in Australia. How important do you think it is, Glenn, for associations to share what they're doing and work together?
I think it's essential that through Alzheimer's Disease International we share what we know. In the Asia Pacific region, where we have 15 countries, our dream is to have a dementia resource centre that will actually serve many countries who have very little at the moment. Australia can help with that as a more advanced country, so can Singapore, so can Hong Kong. And in our own region we have a dream of working much more closely together through this resource centre to provide training and other resources that will benefit all countries in the region in the longer term. Because remember that the Asia Pacific will have 50% of the worldwide population of 120 million people with dementia by 2050. So it's very important in the Asia Pacific region we actually get our act together.
Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for, but thank you very much for joining us on ADI 2012 TV.
My pleasure, thank you.